دينه حق, and his religion is truth. وَالْحَقُّ صِفَتُهُ, and the truth is his description. وَمِنْهُ وَلَهُ, and from it comes from him, and also it belongs to him. فإذا رده العبد وتكبر عن قبوله فإنما رد على الله وتكبر عليه. So every time a person rejects the truth, كبرا وغطرسة, out of pride and arrogance, and accepting it, then he's actually displaying pride towards Allah Ta'ala. So it is something that occurs. Sometimes a person is said to him, اتق الله, be God conscious of Allah. وإذا قيل له اتق الله أخذته العزة بالإثم. Yani when it's said to him, be God conscious of Allah, أخذته العزة, he's overwhelmed by his might and his honor and his station and his positioning, and he doesn't accept it. فحسبه جهنم ولبئس المهاد. And how is sufficient his abode is the hellfire, and what a terrible abode it is. So now we're going to speak about some of the qualities of Ahlul Kibr, what they're known for. And it's Shama'il al-Mutakabbirin. You know, we have a booklet, Shama'il al-Nabawiyya, yani the characteristics and the qualities of the Prophet that we should follow. Is Shama'il al-Mutakabbirin, that we people should avoid them. كسعر وجهه ونظره شزرا وإطراق رأسه وجلوسه متربعا ومتكئا. We'll explain this, inshallah. It is, for example, his appearance in this frowny manner, or looking at people with a glance, as if he's looking from behind it at mu'akhiratul ayn, just giving a people a glance of belittlement. And the way he would even carry himself before them. And here it says sitting in a manner where he's showing that he's an individual that is superior than others. And this is not to blame sitting cross-legged or leaning, but it means, yani, this, if it was in a manner with all these characteristics together, then this is a sign of kibr. وفي أقواله حتى في صوته ونغمته, even in his statements and his words. You can even have kibr in the sound and how a person talks and carries himself. وصيغة إيراده الكلام, and the way how he forms his words. ويظهر ذلك أيضا في مشيه وتبختره وقيامه وقعوده وحركاته وسكناته وسائر تقلباته. You can see that kibr, it can fall in the person's walk, how he displays himself, his appearance, his standing, his sitting, his movements, his stillness, all of his affairs, that kibr can be found therein. Some people assume that pridefulness and arrogance is just in a few things, and someone's speech. Some people assume that is mahsur al-kalam. Some people assume that is just confined to certain hand gestures. No, it can be all of that. And some people, they may fall into these acts unintentionally. So in this case, they're to be advised. وَلَا تُصَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَمْشِي فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. And you do not do these characteristics that resemble the people of pride and arrogance, walking in a particular manner like them. But if a person is doing it unintentionally, then there's no sin on him. There's no sin on him. And sometimes people, they don't realize that from al-kibr, from his definition, is al-mufakhara. What's the proof that bragging and boasting is from kibr? It comes in a hadith, Iyad ibn Himar, قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is hadith that many of the brothers memorize, but they forget this part where he's going to mention at the end, إن الله أوحى إلي أن تواضعوا حتى لا يفخر أحد على أحد ولا يبغي أحد على أحد. That Allah has revealed to me that you all, instructed that you all be, and revealed for me that to convey you that you all be humble. And so that no one brags and boasts over the other, nor transgresses over the other. So this mufakhara, it goes against tawadu, they say. To come and say, أنا أكثر منك مالا وولدا. I have more wealth and children than you. Oh, إنما أوتيته على علم عندي. I've been given this of knowledge of myself, and so on and so forth, of these words. And sometimes people who are religious, they fall into a type of kibr that is very severe. Ibn Qayyim, also in his book, Madarij al-Salikin, he says, وأكثر الناس من المتنزهين عن الكبائر الحسية والقاذورات في كبائر مثلها أو أعظم منها. Many of the people who free themselves from falling into major sins, and the despicable sins fall into major sins that which is equal to it or even greater. How do they fall into major sins that are equal to it or greater? وَلَا يَخْطُرْ بِقُلُوبِهِمْ, and they don't even know that they're falling into this. وَلَا يَخْطُرْ بِقُلُوبِهِمْ أَنَّهَا ذُنُوبٌ لِيَتُوبُ مِنْهَا. And some of them يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. They're assuming that they're doing well. فعندهم من الإزراء على أهل الكبائر واحتقارهم. Pay attention, this happens a lot. Some people that are religious, they belittle the people of major sins and degrade them to a level that they assume that they're better than others, and it leads to a level where he assumes that where he's reached is due to his hard work and his accomplishments, but he forgets يعني لو شاء الله كنت أيضا مثلهم فالقلوب بين أصابع الرحمن. That if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed, you could have been like them, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides whom He wills. So be careful of degrading even the people of the ma'asiyah. Maybe they're sinning in a particular way different from how you sin. Maybe he has a challenge that he is struggling, he has a battle that he's trying and finding, if he finds a way to get over this challenge, he becomes the most righteous of people. But you look down at him and degrade him severely. And it reaches to a level that you get overwhelmed about your obedience and your accomplishments. And this happens a lot, is some people, they feel that they're doing a lot of good deeds. In the tafsir of Allah, the statement of Allah, وَلَا تَمْنُن تَسْتَكْثِرْ, قال الحسن البصري, وَلَا تَمْنُن بِعَمَلِكَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ تَسْتَكْثِرُهُ. يعني لا تَمْنُن بِعَمَلِكَ, do not have this man where you start to see what you're doing so much is as if it's high in numbers. This is what people fall into of kibr. And then after that, it leads to al-ujb, self-amazement. And we're going to speak about the definition of ujb, inshallah, as you come. طيب, ومن خصال المتكبر أن يحب قيام الناس له. From the characteristics of a prideful person is that he likes for people to stand for him. Wallah, if he sees people get up for him to greet him, it is the greatest of things from him. يحب أن قيام الناس له. And we find the mashayikh the opposite. They go, اجلسوا ابقوا مكانكم. Sit where you are. والقيام على ضربين. Standing, it have two types. قيام على رأسه وهو قاعد. For people to come and stand at his while he's sitting. فهذا منهي عنه. This is prohibited. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أحب أن يتمثل له الرجال قياما فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. وهذه عادة الأعاجم والمتكبرين. He wants to remain seated and people stand around him. This is from the characteristics of such people. And it comes in the hadith prohibiting الثاني قيام عند مجيء الإنسان فقد كان السلف لا يكادون يفعلون ذلك. It comes here standing when someone arrives. They make it ديدنه. Every time this person arrives and they're sitting, they have to stand for that person when he enters. Still, I've never used to do that. But yes, if it's a rare incident, a ضيف, a guest came in, or a particular great man that came of who's visiting, then it comes in the hadith, قوموا إلى سيدكم. Stand to you, your Sayyid, I believe it was Sa'ad ibn Ubadah. So in certain circumstances, a guest walks in, they used to get up and you stand and you welcome him. And people, they say, no, I'm not going to stand. It's going to be from pride. No, you welcome your guest. So it is a way to welcome and show tarheeb of standing for your guest when he arrives, of bringing him from the door to your entry area. قال أنس لم يكن شخص أحب إليه من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. No one was beloved to them, from the Sahabas, as they loved the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. وكانوا إذا رأوه لم يقوموا. And when they would see him, they would not stand. And this is the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. لما يعلمون من كراهته لذلك, because they know how he dislikes that. وقد قال العلماء يستحب القيام للوالدين والإمام العادل وفضلاء الناس وقد صار هذا كالشعار بين الأفاضل فإذا تركه الإنسان في حق من يصلح أن يفعل في حقه لم يأمن أن ينسبه إلى إهانة والتقصير في حقه فيوجب ذلك حقدا واستحباب هذا في حق القائم لا يمنع الذي يقام له أن يكره ذلك ويرى أنه ليس بأهل لذلك. So sometimes it has become now, in many places, traditionally, for a person to stand for his parents. They said it's exceptional that a person stands for his parents, and they give the incident of Fatima standing for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they say they brought some certain incidents. وَالْإِمَامُ الْعَادِلِ قُومُوا إِلَى سَيِّدِكُمْ وَفُضَلَاءَ النَّاسِ. Even though when people do this, they still somewhat dislike it. They should not feel like that they're deserving of this, as he mentions. And also he says, وَمِنْ خِصَالِ الْمُتَكَبِّرِ, from the characteristics of someone that has the trait of pridefulness, أَلَّا يَمْشِي إِلَّا وَمَعَهُ أَحَدْ يَمْشِي خَلْفَهُ. Some of the people in the past, they would not want to walk except they have people behind them. Or even in our time, they want to walk and being seen with coming with people to a place. They feel it is like it's embarrassing to come alone. وَمِنْهَا, this is another quality, but before we get to that one, I wanted to read another quote that they said, some people, the knowledge increases them in tawadu. And some people, knowledge increases them in kibr, pridefulness. العلم يزيد المتكبر كبرا والمتواضع تواضعا. Subhanallah. Knowledge, it increases the one who has arrogance with him in arrogance and haughtiness. And the mutawadi, the humble person and the person of humility, it increases him in humbleness. So it all goes back to what the person's on. So from the characteristics, he says, أن لا يزور أحدا تكبر على الناس. He doesn't want to visit anyone. He wants to be visited. He doesn't want to visit people. This is the characteristics. And they said it has another one. I'll read it more specifically. This one has a subcategory. أن يترفع عن مخالطة الناس والعوام ويرى أن ذلك حط من قدره. He sees himself more superior to visit and intermingle with the people, the lay folk, the general people of different status. He sees this to lower himself, to intermingle with certain people. When the general folks come and he sits around, you find that he's quick to get up. He doesn't want to be seen sitting with certain people. Not because it's just gathering, it's not beneficial, but he doesn't want to be seen with the general folks. وَمِنْهَا, and they said from the Prophet ﷺ's characteristic is that he was known for ziyarah, to visit the people. He would go visit his family members, visit people of his neighbors, visit his companions, his friends, the poor, the needy. It was known for ziyarah. ومنها أن يستنكف من جلوسه, and from it is that he somewhat tries to feel haughty to sit alongside other people or to walk alongside other people. He doesn't want to be seen with certain people. SubhanAllah. Some people, they feel themselves so superior that they don't want to be seen with others in a particular way. وقد روى أنس رضي الله عنه, and this happens sometimes. People, they're embarrassed to be seen that someone of their family or their friends have deficiencies or defects or certain trials of life. He doesn't want to be seen. He wants to be seen in a state where there's no trials of that. وقد روى أنس رضي الله عنه قال إن كانت الأمة من أهل المدينة لتأخذ بيد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, أو إن كانت الأمة من أهل المدينة لتأخذ بيد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فتنطلق به في حاجتها. This is known from the Prophet ﷺ that a young slave woman would take by the hand of the Prophet ﷺ and would take him to certain areas just to fulfill her need of certain things of what she was in a state. This one, this is not the exact wording. طيب, from the characteristics, ومنها أن لا يتعاطى بيده شغلا في بيته وهذا بخلاف ما كان عليه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Some of them, they don't want to work with their hands. They don't want to get their hands dirty, as they would say, in their affairs at home. He always wants to be served. He wants to be treated. He doesn't want to serve anyone else, even to do certain things of the basic affairs. The Prophet ﷺ will milk his own his own cattle. He would repair his own shoes. He would do certain things of the basics by his own hands. And some people find this as a way of degrading for him to do that. ومنها أن لا يحمل متاعه من سوقه إلى بيته. He doesn't want even to be seen carrying his belongings from the market to his house. This happens. He wants to get it transported and not to be seen doing it himself. And then he mentions وكان أبو بكر رضي الله عنه يحمل الثياب إلى السوق يتجر فيها. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq The best after the Prophet ﷺ of this ummah used to carry clothing to the market and do business with it. And he mentioned also Umar ibn Khattab, a business of that affair. And he says, وأقبل أبو هريرة رضي الله عنه يوما من السوق وقد حمل حزمة أو حزمة حطب وهو يومئذ خليفة مروان فقال لرجل أوسع الطريق للأمير. And you find he was the Amir, he was a governor. Abu Hurairah was a governor, and he was seen carrying a log of wood. So they said to him, make space for the Amir, he's walking. They're shocked. ومن أراد أن ينفي الكبر ويستعمل التواضع فعليه بسيرة الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وقد سبقت الإشارة إليها في كتاب آداب المعيشة. And whoever wants to repel or rid himself from pride and arrogance and be humble, then it is upon him to follow the biography of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it's also preceded, he's mentioning of that. So arrogance is a true quality, and it exists in our ranks, ya akhwa. And sometimes بين مستقل ومستكثر. Some people have it and they display it so much, and some people have a little qualities of it, of pride and arrogance. And generally, the Salaf used to say, من وضع وجهه لله عز وجل ساجدا فقد برئ من الكبر. And whoever literally is a person of ibadah and worship, the more he is in his humility of worship to Allah, the less pride he will have. Less pride. They said, every time you're doing sujood, you're lowering your ego, inshallah. Every time you're doing sujood, يعني حسا ومعنى. Literally, you're lowering your ego and humbling yourself. That's why sujood is from the most noble of acts in the sight of Allah. And that's where the closest you are to your Lord. أقرب ما يكون العبد إلى ربه وهو ساجد. The nearest a servant is to his Lord is in a state of prostration. So the more humble you are, the closer you are to your Lord. This is very important, brothers. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described his servants, يعني الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا. That they walked on the face of the earth in a state of humility. Then he's going to go into some of the how to cure yourself from and rid yourself from pride and arrogance, and how to earn humility. Inshallah, we're going to take some of that. It's very important. But verily, this affair of arrogance is a sifatun dhamima, the despised characteristic, and it leads to a lot of evil. اعلم أن الكبر من المهلكات ومداواته فرض عين ولك في معالجته مقامان. Know that kibr is from the destructive acts, and treating it is an individual obligation. It's not farz kifaya. It's not like a general collective obligation. If some people do it, then everyone else is exempted. Everyone individually, it's a duty of his own that he has to deal with this and rid himself from this trait. And curing it or having the remedy to it is of two types. الأول في استئصال أصله وقطع شجرته. يعني removing its root entirely. Arrogance. وذلك بأن يعرف الإنسان نفسه ويعرف ربه. That is by coming to know himself. They say رحم امرأ عرف قدر نفسه. May Allah have mercy upon a man that knows his level. رحم امرأ عرف قدر نفسه. He knows his level. ويعرف ربه, and he knows his Lord. That's why those people that وما قدر الله حق قدره, a lot of these people that really don't immense and magnify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ways He deserves, these people usually fall into arrogance of themselves. فإنه إذا عرف نفسه حق المعرفة علم أنه أذل من كل ذليل. If he comes to realize, know himself and the weakness of insan, وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا, that man has been created weak, he will come to realize that he's from the most lowest of things. وَيَكْفِيهِ, and even shaitan, when he came يطوف ببني Adam at the time of being created, he said, فَنَظَرَ فَعَرَفَ أَنَّهُ خَلْقٌ لَا يَتَمَالَكْ. And he went around and he circulated and he seen the amount of channels of weakness. His eyesight, he can come to him from the eyesight. He can come from the ears of what they can hear. He can come from various of angles. He found so many routes of the weakness of Bani Adam where he couldn't get him. وَيَكْفِيهِ أَنْ يَنْظُرَ فِي أَصْلِ وُجُودِهِ بَعْدَ الْعَدَمِ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. It's sufficient for him to just look to his origin. From how he was of non-existent to becoming of dirt, then becoming of fluid, then coming out from the passage of urine, then coming up as a clot of blood, then becoming a morsel of flesh. فَقَدْ صَارَ شَيْئًا مَذْكُورًا. Then he becomes what he is mentioned. Before, بعد أن كان جمادا لا يسمع ولا يبصر. Before he was like an object. Nothing heard, can't hear, can't see. ولا يحس ولا يتحرك. فقد ابتدى بموته قبل حياته سبحان الله وبضعفه قبل قوته وبفقره قبل غناه. He started with his death before his life. That's Bani Adam. He was non-existent. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. Did it come to a time that Bani Adam was not existent? And now he wants to become arrogant and prideful. There was a time you weren't even existent. The truth was there before you were born, and now you want to reject it? And this is the affair. وَبِضَعْفِهِ قَبْلَ قُوَّتِهِ. And he was weak before he attained strength. And now he wants to display himself in a powerful manner. وَبِفَقْرِهِ قَبْلَ غِنَى. And in a state of poverty, when he was in need, before his richness. وقد أشار الله تعالى إلى هذا بقوله من أي شيء خلق من نطفة خلقه فقدر. And he let him look to from what he was created. This is one of the things that humbles a man. And each one shows you ثم السبيل يسرا وبقوله فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا. All of this is to hint to something. طيب, a little benefit I want to read just about this topic of to remind a person how to deal with arrogance and pride. They say العاقل إذا رأى من هو أكبر منه سنا تواضع له وقال سبقني إلى الإسلام. When a person sees someone older than him, he should say, I need to become humble to this person because this person has preceded me to Islam. He's a Muslim before me. Even if it's 1 year, he's Muslim before you. That 1 year, he could achieve so much. How many khamsa salawat he prayed? وَإِذَا رَأَى مَنْ هُوَ أَصْغَرُ سِنًّا مِنْهُ تَوَاضَعَ لَهُ. And if you see someone younger than him, he becomes humble to him. وَقَالَ سَبَقْتُهُ بِذُنُوبٍ. And this person, I preceded him in sins, in carrying sins. I have maybe 1 year of sins that he doesn't have. The people are boasting, I'm 10 years older than this person. You have 10 years of sins that this person doesn't have. Humble yourself. This is the meaning. وَإِذَا رَأَى مَنْ هُوَ مِثْلُهُ عَدَّهُ أَخًا فكيف يحسن التكبر المرء على أخيه. And if you see someone at similar level of him, a similar age, then he realizes that how could he become arrogant and prideful upon someone of his brother, of his same age? What is he? ولا يجب استحقار أحد لأن العود المنبوذ ربما انتفع به فحك الرجل به أذنها. يعني they say never belittle anything. They even said don't even belittle a mosquito. لا تحقرن صغيرا في مخاصمة إن البعوضة تدمي مقلة الأسد. They do never belittle a young person. Verily the mosquito can make the eyelid of a lion come out of blood. Mosquito, brothers. They said also, even a branch of stick that is thrown and casted out, person can come and benefit and use it for something that is a benefit and something small. So they said you should never put yourself in a state of being prideful and deeming yourself haughty over others. This characteristic now that found people feel that they preceded others. Some people now they boast. They said, I'm older than you, I have so many years over you. These things, these could be things that have benefit, but it should never be used to deem yourself superior than others. Fir'aun, he used it against Musa. Alam nurabbika fina walida. Didn't we just raise you when you were just born? You were just in the cradle. Now you want to come and tell us what to worship? Fir'aun is using this. Yeah, so pay attention. Kibr, it is found and it's real. People, they get overwhelmed of what they have to look down at others. Some people, perhaps, they don't have certain defects of their bodies, and then they see someone who else has a defect, they look down at them. This is unfortunate. Or some people from a certain tribe, or some people from a certain country, or certain color of skin, they boast and brag about these things. And they said also, when you're walking on the face of the earth, to remember, فَكَمْ تَحْتَهَا قَوْمٌ هُمْ مِنْكَ أَرْفَعُ. Even perhaps you're walking on the face of the earth in a state of haughtiness and arrogance, and there's so many people buried underground that are way better than you. People that are buried under the ground, there's so many of them that are way better than you. But you can see their level, and they're in a state of humility waiting for their reckoning. So from the ways also to cure pride and arrogance, it is mentioned فيما يعرض من التكبر بالأنساب المقام الثاني. Some people, they raise themselves by their forefathers. They try to claim perfection by the work of someone else. He tells you, I'm from this tribe. Wallah ya akhi, man batta'a bihi amaluh, lam yusir bihi nasabuh. Whoever's deeds pull him down, his lineage will not pull him up. Remember that. He tells you, my father, my grandfather was like this. But how are you? That's the question. What is it gonna, why are you using the hard work of someone else? People forget this. He's telling you about the accomplishments of this country that I'm from. And then you ask him, what is your accomplishment? What are you doing? Why are you boasting of someone else's hard work? This is another way to cure this quality of pridefulness and arrogance. طيب. So they said also, some people, من تكبر بسبب الغنى, whoever becomes arrogant and prideful about richness, then let him look to those before who are more richer than him. ومن تكبر بسبب العلم فليعلم أن حجة الله على العالم آكد من الجاهل. Whoever becomes arrogant because of knowledge that he has, let him know that the hujjah of Allah is more placed on him than an ignorant one. Why are you arrogant and prideful? There's more hujjah on you than that ignorant person. There's some things that some people, there's two extremes. Some people go to extreme of arrogance and haughtiness. And some people go to extreme of humiliation and disgrace. And then the middle course is tawadu. والوسط يسمى تواضعا. Some people, they disgrace themselves. They put themselves down. And then they say, I'm mutawadi. No, that's not tawadu. It's time to lead the salat. He's أقرأ القوم. He said, تقدم, brother. فليؤمكم يعني فليؤم أحدكم أقرأكم لكتاب الله. Let one of you who has the most Quran lead. He says, no, I don't want to lead. I said, this is not tawadu. This is, you disgrace it. This is something, a reward for you and your positioning, and you're meant for it, and you're fulfilling the statement of Allah, or the statement of the hadith. And it comes, a hadith that some scholars authenticate, that from the signs of the hour, يتدافعون الناس عن الإمامة. That people, everyone say, no, you lead, no, you lead, no, you, no one wants to lead. When does this happen? If it's a person, he's capable and he's supposed to be doing it, then take the reward. The reward of leading the salat is more than being led. Why are you taking it? Why are you rejecting it? Umar ibn Khattab, he said, if he wasn't being busy with leading the salat, he would have done adhan as well, showing that leading the salat has more reward. Tayyib, also, you don't put yourself down to be praised that you're humble. Be careful. That could lead to riyah. We have any time left? وقد دخل الوقت. Maghrib? Huh? 2 minutes? طيب, let's quickly read Al-Ujb, self-amazement. Al-Ujb is, it mentions here, ثلاث من مهلكات شح مطاع وهوى متبع وإعجاب المرء بنفسه. 3 things are from destruction. From it is mentioned a man being amazed of himself. A person being amazed of himself. Some of the scholars, they differed on the meaning of it. Some of them said, إعجاب الرجل بنفسه هو ملاحظته لها بعين الكمال. It is deeming himself, observing himself, looking at himself with the eye of perfection. والاستحسان مع نسيان منة الله تعالى. And seeing how good he is while forgetting the favor of Allah upon him. فإن رفعها على غير واحتقره فهو الكبر المذموم. And if he raises himself over others, then it becomes pride and arrogance. And some people said, عجب is الإحساس بالتميز والافتخار بالنفس. Some people to deem themselves unique and distinguished from others. He says, I'm different from others. I'm not like everyone else. I'm better, I'm accomplished. والافتخار بالنفس, and that he boasts and brags. You sit with him, all he's telling you is, I have this, my children are like this, أنا أكثر منك مالا وولدا. I have this, my job is like this, my house is like this. Brother, وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. Yes, but not in a way that you're boasting and bragging. والفرح بأحوالها, and that he's displayed his joy of his scenarios of his life, but in a prideful manner. وبما يصدر عنها من أقوال وأفعال محمودة أو مذمومة. So this is self-amazement. وقال مطرف لأن أبيت نائما وأصبح نادما أحب إلي من أبيت قائما وأصبح معجبا. Some of the Salaf, they said, for me to spend my whole night fast asleep, regretting in the morning, it is better to me than to spend my whole night in qiyam, night prayer, and then arise in the morning amazed of my deeds. This is what happens. Because al-ujb yad'u ila al-kibr, it calls to pridefulness and arrogance. A lot of people, they get amazed of their accomplishments, their good deeds. They look at what they've done. They feel like this was because of their hard work, that I got this job because of my degree, because of this and because of that. He forgets that all it was something, mainly it was for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many people have that degree and they don't have that job like you? That is just a means. So the self-amazement is real. Some people, when they look at their paycheck, They have self-amazement. I tell you, the figures that I'm making yearly, self-amazement in that. Some people have self-amazement in their car. La ilaha illallah. The way he speaks about his car and the way he is, ujb. So it is real. We stop with this amount. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit of what we heard. If there's any questions, we'll take it. If not, we'll end here, inshallah. Follow? صح مطرف